Okay. Today is August 24th, 22. Another fiasco day. They were following me again. Okay. So I pulled over and I gave them my statement. Okay. People start scattering. It's not funny what happened to me. Not even a little bit. Okay. I go into Sheets on Whipple and Fulton Road. And I go to leave. Some ladies and this teenage kid don't say anything to her. They're walking in the door. None of this is funny. He said, I know. They said, it's that Steve doing this to her. They said he actually broke in and raped her before. And they already knew all those kids lied, and he just is having people make fun of her because he raped her. Steve, there's an Eric and Steve that are part of this. They are wanted by the Maslin police for stalking. People said they were taping me unaware before. Okay? Stalking me for these people. You don't get a quarter to watch somebody. It's the Fourth Amendment. Police and agencies can only be in a home under a threat of life. They have to have the threat of life case registered. They have to have your statement taped that you're asking for help. And there's a threat on your life, and the other person in that home knowing of the threat on your life. Otherwise, it's a legal search and seizure, and it's not. It's thrown out. They can't look or listen. So the concept of them saying they had a coroner to be in my home is ridiculous. Just to watch me, because it takes your right to privacy, your right to remain quiet, your right to a legal representation, a right to a fair court trial, Pelham Pondaway. Maslin officer, now Maslin worked the state case that the Canton FBI opened. September 27th, 18. Officers in uniform call it carrying around the house. One Stark County Sheriff said, what's that? One of us have to watch or listen to her every day. They're also supposed to protect. I'm supposed to be in protected custody. Okay. They're not the only ones that knew about it. In the Maslin, I worked at Liberty House Share, Hills and Dales Road, June of 19. The officer that showed up and made a public statement was in the back of Liberty House Share, Hills and Dales Road. Okay. He was on the phone. First, he looked at me in front of them. The worst thing you ever did wrong, honey, is bend over and probably we can wipe that one out. And he's laughing because I only made fun of the back of my knees. But he made a mistake in front of him. He was on the phone. You made up a case to watch her before. That's funny. You did what to me, or what to her before. That's funny. She must really like him. I'm like, shut up. Talking about Michelle. Okay. He was also in the back of CSE Bank. Okay. 2019 and 2020, the Canton police seen him. They told everybody I was an FBI informant and they were my security. People in the bank even talked about it. Karen has security here. I wonder why. Okay? So Canton's been all over this because at Oakland apartment, December 9th, 21, 4 p.m., they call him and tell him all the tapes before with them and not her. And it's just a bunch of men doing crimes down here. So he told the Canton police and investigators. There were not the Stark County Hunger Task Force on 9th Street in Canton. There was a white man bald with dark eyes distributing food December 9th, 21 also. There's only 4 or 5 volunteers. They do have cameras in there and they'd have a list of his name, and Canton found him. He came out and he said, we always knew the tapes before were them and not her, so we never said a word. He talked to the Canton police and investigator. Now, the investigators went there before Christmas of 21. I took my client back down there, and some white guys with white hair walk out the back were mad. That guy knew they did all these things to her, And it's some guy named Eric trying to help him get away with this, and we don't know who he is yet. And security's walking around with the walkie-talkies. The informant's here, and no one's to say a word. Well, when I worked at Liberty House Share, June of 19, one of the North Canton Jackson police were working security because I was almost murdered. He was a sweet enough officer. I went to pull out. He literally walked out in traffic, waved his arms, and said, "The informant's here." Everybody stopped traffic and let her through. I was so embarrassed. I told my one friend from the prosecutor's office about it. He said, "Karen, you don't realize you have a lot of favor with a lot of officers." Well, I'm a 50-year-old woman that laid her life down to save her family, lived through a concentration camp set up from these people, and they all know it. And they've chased off stalkers. They have been around me for 3 to 4 years. Okay, and I almost died to save my family. With Michelle's mother breaking in Walmart August 10th or 11th of 22, that this whole thing was a setup, that they got a hold of Will and explained to him about Michelle, and he set it up. No one would ever help me because he understood about Michelle, and they think it's funny that they're actually going along with it instead of doing the right thing and help me. Okay, I went to the FBI building the other day. Now, I went there in February. They did not dispute Will's case. Okay? I just said I want to speak to someone about September 27th, 18. Will started a protected life case. Went in there and they said, well, we're going to go out and talk to those officers about this. Okay? I go back in there to talk to them. And then they start acting stupid. Well, don't act stupid. I said, really? Because there was a protected life case. Madison works it. I told them what that officer said. And then I said, March of 19, there was a young African American officer where I had got mom had us pull into Kmart parking lot. I got on the walkie-talkie, told Bruce I'll take care of Karen while she was in town. I said, there is a protected life case. They watch my daughter-in-law, Dixie, on Federal Avenue. They said, we'll get a hold of Maslin. I said, you need to. It's going to be quite eye-opening. Okay? So I went home, and with that guy pretending to be FBI and telling on me, those people having a copy of my phone mocking me. Well, when I caught my ex-husband out on the phone that Dixie and the baby would be next, and that they had a list with these people acting crazy around me. I had called, see, this is where it's unique. I called the FBI hotline, the 1-800 number. They told me they'd assign an agent to me. Those people could actually call headquarters and say, I want the recordings in the last of September. Karen's social is this. What agent was assigned to her? Because I actually called on a recorded line to the 800 number. Okay? And they assigned me an agent. Okay? I Googled, in 2018, I Googled the Canton FBI, and it came up with a task force. Not the regular FBI building that was downtown. It comes up with a task force. Well, when I called, and I said, my name is Karen Hall. I'm working with Agent Will. My ex-husband was caught out on the phone making a threat of my daughter-in-law's and my granddaughter's life, and he's got a list. And she yells out, Willie's got a list. I'm working on it. I could hear his voice. Well, I called back down there again. Okay? And I said, I seen that guy. And she's like, Will you tell those police up there to get a hold of this? Uh-huh. We're busy. Okay? So don't act stupid around me. I went and worked at my clients at Chapel Church Road on the edge of Navarre. The White House before hers. they had told her neighbor that Judge Pete photoshopped everything before. And I had people driving by, and so I started my statement from the beginning on. I said, you know what, I have to take the trash out. I'll be back in a minute. I went to leave. That lady said she's funny. She said she'll be back in a minute. She said she tells me every day what happened to her. I call people every day trying to find somebody to help her, and nobody will help her. And she said I was assigned to her to find out what's going on. Now, that lady, they already told her in March of 19, or not March of 19, but March of 2022, that everything, Judge Pete photoshopped everything was made up and dropped. She's told investigators, the Canton police, and now she's told an agent. And they took my statement when I was sitting in that place, and then I started playing my videos. Okay? Maslin was talking that agent was at least negligent in her case. The cop that went to Dave, that was at Liberty House Share, the cop that was at CSE, I seen him there too, in the back. He walked out, okay? He even knew Will. He said, he walked up to me in Walmart. Will gave Karen no wrongdoing in life because she wasn't abusive. He knew about Will. Okay? He also, in Walmart, some guy was being rude to me, and he got in his face, you leave my little informant alone. I took off and let him handle it. Okay, when I had almost got shot driving in the first 45 days, there's an emergency room report. And Dave had chicken wing my arm, knocked me in the railing, punched me in the stomach twice. Well, he was one of the officers in the waiting room. Now, I was too scared to say anything, and the doctor's looking at me and looking at him, where Dave chicken wing my arm, knocked me in the railing, punched me twice in the stomach, and my intestines are swelling. And I'm in so much pain I can't stand it. Now, I've not been in a car wreck. You have that much damage done to you. What happened? Somebody beat you. Because he kept looking at me, looking at Dave, and looking at me. Okay? Well, that officer standing outside my room, I want to talk to her about the reports of these threats on her life. And the doctor's like, you don't understand what happened. And she needs to go home and rest. And she's not talking to anyone. Now, I didn't have to keep making police reports. There was undercover police and investigators chasing people off. I go to inside Walmart and other places. I got yelled at by one of the investigators. People were making beelines for me, and they were grabbing them. Okay? I had a bunch of people follow me one morning, and I didn't want to pull over in Walmart. I couldn't stand people coming at me and people grabbing me, so I kept driving. And I went over to Fisher's, and they're walking around me, okay? And I go back to Walmart. He walked up to me and yelled at me. If you don't pull over, I can't arrest him for stalking you. Okay? Faith Family Church, I worked in the bookstore, and the Stark County sheriffs worked there too, okay, as security, and for the church. They didn't work at the bookstore, but they worked at Faith Family Church, and they still do. They were outside of the security office talking real loud. I could hear it into the bookstore across the hallway. Are you interested in working Karen around the house? What's that? One of us have to watch or listen to her every day. They're also supposed to protect. But they worked it too. The Minerva undercover police said something. Uniontown or Hartfield police said something. I go in different places and officers will say something. One officer said it was a state case. Well, there's quite a few counties involved. Yeah, that's where my one friend from the prosecutor's office, Karen, you don't realize you found favor with quite a few officers. Well, I almost died to save my family. See, Massillon police work a protective case, and they could see these crimes happening to me. And whoever the boys are called, I think they're the undercover police for Portage County Sheriff's. First, I thought it was a courthouse because the way they described themselves, they were agents from the agency stationed in the courthouse. They were FBI. I was scared to death of the FBI. I thought the FBI had lost its ever-loving mind. I really did. Because how they're staying out of stuff from Michelle and all this other crazy stuff. And they're using sodium pentothal on me, and people are breaking in, stabbing me with needles. I thought the FBI had lost its ever-loving mind. And here it's just retired Judge Pete, her father, and it was some drug dealers and corrupted a couple officers. I was supposed to be in protected custody, and the other ones just didn't do anything. When I was out, regular officers in different area would show up and help with the state case. But even Massillon Stat Care, it's an emergency room, small little emergency room, Massillon, Wales Road, May 26, 22. About 1:40, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I have trouble from that torture. And I went in and I told the nurse about it. Well, she goes to leave. She leaves the room, and I start playing the videos from my case. And they're the same thing the police have. They could actually timestamp them back to the case. I go to leave. Security has it back to me talking to the nurse. What on earth it was those officers doing it to her. We all knew they were following around to protect her. I was supposed to be in protected custody. Okay. Like Walmart 62, even some of their police worked the protected light case and mentioned it. They passed me around like a hot potato. But today at Sheets, where those two girls told that young guy, don't say anything to her today, it's not funny what's going on. It's that Steve. He actually had broken and raped her before. They knew all those kids lied before, and he's just having people make fun of her because he actually broke in and raped her. They told the neighborhood ecstasy. They were telling people they were using sodium pentothal on me. Sodium pentothal is a lethal outlaw drug you actually lie under, and it causes amnesia. While ecstasy is a date rape drug with total amnesia. And you're sleepwalking, it's spoofing somebody, and it's a human slave drug. You're wide awake and you have no idea what you're doing. How pathetic of a person is he? See, I was at Burger King across from Sheets last fall, and they said, did you know Steve broke in and raped you before? And I thought, shut up, that's not funny. I don't know who Steve is. See, those people were talking about it too. See, all the police know all the kids lied in 2018 because there was a real protective law case and they were following everybody around. And Massillon will tell you they're documenting me games to pretend I never hurt anyone. They will also tell you I'm innocent of everything. And they actually have the protective light case. That's how that officer knew to show up. Okay? I told you May 12th, 22 at Bubba's restaurant, they screamed at the police driving by. We found a tape of those boys admitting a shower scene in the other room. Now this is funny. May 26, 22, KFC in Baldwin. The attorney had it set up so it looked like you were weird with yourselves, and they can't use it because some idiot man told on them for the shower scene in the other room. And I told you about January 1922, Department of Disability. Whipple at 11 o'clock in the morning. Now, they got in the back, so someone had let them in the back, and they got cameras that uh, I was dragged in told to say something for, and they told them someone needs to help me. February 2nd, 22, Burlington Coat Factory. Um, some guy that looks like the guy that went to pay me for it, called Wilback, but younger, said he personally interrupted me and told me to say stuff. And they sold the Protector Life case by Christmas of 18. They talked about it in Walmart. The agents are selling the login for money. They're selling it for $25 a pop. People have it everywhere. It's horrible. I can go places and they'll say, hey, Karen, this, hey, Karen, that. Hey, Karen, this, hey, Karen, that. And they do it in front of my clients. And like my one client said, Karen, this is crazy. I said, who's crazy? He's like, these people, they admit to dragging you until you say stuff before, and they admit to raping you in front of people. It is crazy. See, my ex-daughter-in-law, Melissa, she was friends with Auntie Michelle, the retired judge's daughter, the heavyset girl. Okay? That's why they were stalking me in my home, photoshopping a shower scene, date rape, drugging confessions, trying to make it look official by saying sodium pentothal, pretending they had a quarter, do it like I'd actually fall for it. Then they could take me off somewhere and say they're going to put me in prison and kill me. Okay, I'm not that stupid. Nope, not even a little bit. That would be like saying the Stark County Sheriffs found out my one friend Becky's husband died, and she might get an inheritance, so they broke in and started stalking her. They wanted to steal her money. Broke in and date rape, drugged her, lied they had sodium pentothal reports, and told her they put a shower scene in the other room and they're going to put her in prison and she don't hand over everything. Yeah, they go to jail for that, for being cray-cray. Okay? Talked to a retired sheriff. He said, everything that's going on with you is nothing but shit. It is nothing but shit. It is nothing but shit. They can't look or listen. Police and agencies can only be in a home under a threat of life. They have the case registered along with the video of you or audio of you asking for help for the threat of your life and the other person knowing of it. Now, I talked to no one but the FBI. I called the hotline. They'd assign me an agent, and they'd have them call me back. I told you, the main cop that was at CSE Bank, and the one that at Liberty House here, and the one that talked to the doctor, knew of the threat of my life. He also knew Will, too, along with Officer Reinhardt. I got to thinking when I took that prepaid cell phone with my video statements and my recordings of knowing the attempted kidnapping and the gunshot night where Daybreak to Dixie had gunfire and they went to the wrong house. When I took it down to South Arco, I was going to have them take it to that courthouse. Where the FBI task force is. But yeah, I wouldn't tell him what was in it. He wouldn't deliver it. Yeah. But yeah, they actually think I'm that stupid. And these people need to wake up there's a right to privacy. They can't even do a search warrant on your house without probable cause warranted with a search warrant and then giving you your Miranda rights or it's thrown out. It's the Fourth Amendment, your homes to be safe and secure. You also have a right to remain quiet, and they have to give you your Miranda rights. So you have the right not to incriminate yourself. You also have a right to a legal representation. If you can't afford one will be appointed to you. You also have a right to a fair court trial, bail and bond. You even have a right not to be mistreated or abused. You also have a right to vote. You have a right to live your life in peace. You have a right to pray to any God that you want. You can also read a book. You have a right to press. And you have a right to freedom of speech. Okay? There's quite a few more rights. People need to wake up how much that retired judge in it with the New York drug dealers, they got New York accents, how not funny they are. Okay? Canton police have been all over this ever since Ed and the guy at the task force told on him. I know the one Canton cop's car is dark gray with blacked out windows. He works at CSE Bank. Um, he pulled in with my client in January of this year uh, to Huntington Bank, and while my client's going in to get a hold of the local department, did you get a hold of the guy at the Hunter Task Force? Those officers did this to you. The white SUV lady's like, well, I heard they didn't give her Miranda rights. It's like, I admit that. They broke in and stabbed me with needles and lied. They had sodium pentothal reports they peeled out. Well, they've been around for March 24, 22. You framed her before you, yeah, we framed her before. Shame on you. I know, I wish we wouldn't have done it. Those people who raped her. My neighbors were screaming at each other for the one's part of it. They were around for Bubba's Restaurant, KFC. They were also of the shower scene. They were also around for the Department of Disability. They were also around when that guy personally admitted to drugging me. They were also speaking with my client's neighbor on Shepler Church Road, where they told her in March that everything was drugged and photoshopped, and it was Judge Pete photoshopping everything, and that they had made everything up. She's talked to several investigators and apparently now an agent. Someone does need to help me. There is state programs being a victim of violent crimes. And there's 100% proof they even sold the login to Faith Family Church. Pastor Mike is the most godly man you'd ever meet. First time I went in there, the people that watched me for the protected custody case, she's an informant. People are threatening her life and trying to kill her. And they're telling everybody, don't tell anybody, I was there. Some older guy with this lady was sitting in the sanctuary, and Pastor Mike was preaching about the FBI keep an eye on him for the threat of life for a year while he cried and prayed. Okay? And then they moved on. And I'm looking at the ceiling. I said, what's her problem? Oh, people are threatening her life and trying to kill her. Is that what's going on? And then they start selling the login. Well, Pastor Mike preached, God asked him, how do you save a life? And God answered, vehicles. My church of 3,000 encased me, went shopping with me, and where they sold the login out of the kindness of strangers, my world would save. My client, I had went to her church with her and her family. I walked out to use the bathroom. Now, January 25th, 2019, Dave was acting crazy, my ex-husband, and all the cops are at the end of the road. And 8 to 10:30 at night, January 25th, 2019, one shows up while I'm crying in my room. The police always knew she was innocent before. They were talking about it at the station. Some guy was bailing his guy out from a team and said, if she's innocent, I'll pay a fine or bail. Said, no, the police already knew she was innocent before, and they never want to arrest her. They knew someone else did something wrong before. They told Dave in a legally blocked house. Okay, like the investigators, for we all know this woman's innocent. Okay? Like Maslin Police, they're documenting me games of pretend she's never hurt anybody. Okay. So, let's think. Let me think for a second. They're driving by. I can hear them outside. That I was at my client's this spring at her church. Well, she was sitting with her family, so I went out to use the restroom. Some teenage kids in there. We all know what's going on, and no one's to say a word to her. She never realized that guy that was bailing out a guy from a team found out what was going on and was paying people to help protect her. It was him that was paying for a lot of it. Not nice. Someone I never. I was at my son Danny's last year. Some middle-aged women that have been following me. I walk out, and there's no one else outside. They look up at me and said, even our dad was helping pay for people to help protect you, and he found out that people were mistreating you, and he's not going to pay for it no. I don't even know who he was, where they sold the lock-in. People were hiring extra security because they didn't want me to die. Like, okay. Someone does need to help me. There's a day program. Now, the white SUV lady, June 7th, out on Turquoise Road in Canton. I have another client. There's a split level across the road, and they have been mocking me for the tapes before. Well, she showed up June 7th, 22, 6 o'clock in the morning. Don't say anything to her anymore. We already found out the tapes before with them and not her, but we didn't realize. And we're looking for who's actually doing this to her. And they're talking about when I go out to my car. Okay. Who do these people think they're fooling? I think they're sucking on too much of the drug dealers' candies. And these people need to be like my one client. I call people every day trying to find someone to help her. I haven't been able to find anybody telling an agent that. They told, like I said, Michelle's mother break the corrupted will. And this whole thing was a setup. Maslin, they were talking when I was at my one client. That agent was at least negligent in this. I hope it was just negligence and not a perpetrator thing. I did report this to the Department of Justice. They can look it up with my social, and I'm on a recorded line. I actually called the FBI hotline, and they'll sign me an agent. And I even gave Will's number to Sarah before I called Will back because he had left a voicemail. And I put it in a card. We had dropped it off at the mall where she knew the rest of my life. Asking her to witness. Went up to Apostolic Church of Pemberton, and there's one of them pretending to be FBI. And they said it was a stunt for Dave to confront me in the truck. They were talking about it in Save-A-Lot, some investigators. They really did have a man pretend to be FBI before she called that agent back. It was a stunt for Dave to confront her in the truck. They had people to pretend that they were kids bad-mouthing her. Her kids didn't know anything about it. And it's just been the people hurting her the whole time, April 14, 22, and Save-A-Lot and Whipple. That how sick all this is. It is very mentally ill, sick stuff that's going on. And the people helping out in this need to realize how disgusting retired Judge Pete, paying with some drug dealers, corrupted a couple cops thinking they could make it look official, that they could actually do that before the protected life case. Break in, stalk me, date rape, drug me, and make it look official. And that I'd be stupid enough to fall for it, and they could act like they could arrest me and take me off somewhere and kill me. Yeah, they can't like Officer Brian Hartlessville. They could never even look or listen. It's all shit anyways. It's all shit. It's so altered. It's potluck what you get. Now, in the protected life case, my ex-daughter-in-law, Melissa, was friends with Auntie Shell. They caught her telling the kids to lie. And on Thanksgiving of 18, that they wanted the house for Auntie Shell and Papa and Grandma needs to get out. And then later on to Flora, my granddaughter, they were making everything up. Laughing. Maslin will tell people it's a documentary games to pretend. Yeah. And my whole family was interviewed. Even some of the protected life people came in front of my client in Maslin. Right before Christmas of 21, just last year. It's something her family really did speak highly of her before. It's documented. When I was with Dave, my ex-husband, they braked all over me. And the other ones were caught giggling and lying because they wanted Auntie Shell to get the house. And then I got a whole list of besides Maslin Police knowing it. It's Stark County Sheriff's even said something to me. If Kurt just found out those kids were lying, he is slow. That was last year. They talked about it in Huntington Bank, October 5th, 21. I almost getting no money, all this. That's okay. They knew they made everything up. They didn't want anybody to help her. It's like, shut up. She's old, what they called old news, fucking shit. January of 19, the gastrology specialist on Fulton Road was scoping my stomach while the Protected Life people were in there. They told him about everything, and they told him that my family was pulling nothing but fucking shit. And they were in there swearing. The Protected Life people, the state hired either investigators or officers, um, or even security people. They swear like crazy at these people. Um, I'll tell you what. Like I said, Stark County Sheriffs, are you interested working carrying her around the house? What's that? One of us have to watch or listen to her every day. Okay, that's what Maslin. That's what the North Canton Jackson Police. Mm-hmm. And then even a couple of the Canton officers that work in Walmart 62 have worked the case. So, yeah, and help protect me and know of it. The Minerva undercover police mentioned something, their kids. The It's so funny, I had to go to a dinner with my oldest. I go to leave early. You can spot the undercover police. They stick out like a sore thumb. They're like, our church has got really big, really, ours, not really big, but they have got a lot of new members. I'm like, I bet they did. Okay. And I'm looking, I'm like, you stick out like a sore thumb. Well, I go to leave, and one of the teenagers, hey Karen, the undercover police that are here want you to know they're glad you left your ex. He's a real idiot. Mm-hmm. I just laughed and got my vehicle. Most officers, including in uniform, are extremely kind and go out of their way to be nice to me. I almost died to save my family. Like, knowing one friend from the prosecutor's office, you don't realize how great a favor you got with quite a few officers. Well, with that Protected Life case, you're a 50-year-old woman and you lived through a concentration camp and you were almost murdered to save your family and kept them out of it. They think very highly of you. And there are state programs to help me. And there's no damn excuse. Will was either negligent or he was a perpetrator, like they said they proctored him. And I do need someone to help me.